Hello again. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, and we are doing yet another Coffee with Geeks where I go out into the real world and find technology professionals to talk about what they're doing in the real world and basically just have a nice, relaxed conversation. Try to bring all of these, technical topics down to what most people can understand. So I'm here today with Sal, who is president of Pulse Supply, and we're going to be talking about their new product, HA Lizard, today. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we were just talking about this before the show. It gets really confusing when you start to talk to people and understand titles and what's a product and what's a company. So we have HA Lizard, we have Pulse Supply, and you are president. So what are you president of, and where does everything kind of fit together?
All right. So Pulse Supply is a nationwide value-added distributor of we call them enabling technologies for telecom operators, government, healthcare, and so on. So we basically build communications networks. We have a high focus in telecommunications, and we're very centric towards phone companies and building phone companies and solving problems for them, both domestically and internationally.
Oh, okay.
We have a sales team across the country in about 7 states, and we're headquartered here, excuse me, just north of Baltimore in Maryland.
So how big is Pulse Supply then?
Well, I guess we're classified as a small company. We're about 20-ish people, mostly sales, some technical, and just typical company going out there solving problems.
Oh, okay, cool. And then so what is HA Lizard then? Is this a different company, or what is that then?
No, that's sort of my personal project. So years ago, we've been deploying technology for ourselves and our clients for many years. And I saw a need in technology where you have smaller deployments of high availability clusters, where it just doesn't make sense to go the traditional route. And this is really going down to virtualization. So you think of VMware, Zen Server, Hyper-V type situations. If you have one or a small handful of virtual machines to deploy, and you want high availability, you're not really left with many options. What you have to do is go out and get a minimum of 3 servers, 3 hypervisors, right?
Yep.
Then you need some external storage, and you can't have all your eggs in one basket, so that needs to be replicated. So now you've got a pair of redundant SANs storing your VM images, your hard disks. Well, then you need redundant paths for your network, and that's 2 more switches. So before you know it, to do something rather simple, you've got 7 rack units of equipment, and probably close to $70,000, $80,000 in equipment, when all you wanted was high availability for a couple of machines. Right, so no one's really adequately figured this out. You go to all the main, hypervisor companies out there, and no one really has a 2-node solution that can compact down and give you all the features of everything I described in that monstrosity in just 2U, extremely cost effectively. You don't give up any performance, and you can do it literally for free with what I've done with HA Lizard. So HA Lizard sits on top of Zen Server, so it's specifically designed for Zen Server. It runs in the control domain, which for Zen people, it's domain 0, which is a core operating system sitting on top of Zen.
Okay.
Fuel footprint, literally a few hundred kilobytes. It doesn't take up hardly anything in RAM space.
Yeah.
And it has no dependencies. So you could install this on top of your Zen Server host and literally build everything I described, that big 7U monstrosity, with 2 physical hosts using local hard drives, DAS, as we call it in technology, direct attached storage inside the servers, which is fully replicated real time between the hosts. You have full migration abilities of moving VMs back and forth. VMs are not restricted to live on one host versus another, so you have all the flexibility you'd get in a massive, expensive system, literally at no cost. The only cost is really hardware cost with the commercial, off-the-shelf type servers.
That's it. Can you scale that up? Can you go to 3, 4, 5 different servers, or is it just for 2?
Okay, so the solution is really 2 software projects. There's HA Lizard, and there's one generically called iSCSI HA.
Okay.
So HA Lizard is just pure high availability for Zen Server. It'll scale up to as many servers as you want. It's similar to their high availability and what it can do, with a few different things that are unique to it. One being it supports 2 nodes. No one else really does that. Second one is it supports the ability to bolt on some scripts to do some fencing. And I don't know if you know the term stone it, shoot the other node in the head. to make sure a physical server is dead before you take over its services. So we have the ability to use out-of-band channels to shut down servers before we take over services. We could also act as a watchdog, so you can deploy it on a one-node cluster, meaning just one host. If you just want all your VMs, then you want to make sure they're running all the time. Power goes out, it comes back up, and you want them to start automatically. So it can be a watchdog, it can be high availability, it can be lots of things, but that's just pure high availability. So we take that and we couple it with a second product, which is storage management. So we take the local hard disks, right, or a partition inside two servers. We replicate them in real time. We manage that replication, which sits on top of DRBD, which is part of the Linux kernel. We manage that. We manage the networking stack and manage some floating IP address. So now you can move storage around and expose it on either server at will, or during a high availability event, it gets exposed on the surviving server. So you always have storage exposed on one of the two servers, and if something fails, it will get exposed on the only remaining server. So that's how we get away with doing everything we do. So those two products combined give us what we call our hyper-converged solution.
Oh, I see. So that's interesting. So even if you have multiple servers, then you're not dealing with the SAN. You're still dealing with the local.
No SAN at all.
That's fucking awesome, actually. That's kind of cool. I was like, no, I didn't realize it was that good.
So here are the use cases. So if you're just someone trying to deploy one application for a client and you want it to be highly available, you want it to be replicated, go out and deploy two servers, put the software on there, and your one instance, your one VM is replicated real time on both systems. You can migrate back and forth, and if one system dies, you pick up right where you left off.
So then what's the network resource, and I would imagine the hard drive requirements. If you got 5,400 RPM drives, I can't imagine that would turn out well.
No, not at all. I mean, so this is really more enterprise level stuff. So in our own deployments, we have a bunch of clusters deployed live. They're all using minimum 10K SAS drives. All rated. So our typical deployment would have a RAID just to store Zen server in the hypervisor, just for it. Another RAID for the storage that we expose and float back and forth between the two hosts. So if you think about it this way, if you have two hosts, each with a RAID 1.0, a pair of disks replicated, plus we're replicating across the network, you have 4 disks. You can lose 3 of them and still have all your data.
But this also then isn't for little $500 servers. I mean,
I wouldn't recommend it. Definitely not 5,400 RPM, a Walmart server, hard drive.
That's interesting. Can this run off a 100 megabit network, or does this need a gig or 10 gig or 40 gig? Like what's the network that it has to be on?
It's agnostic. So what we have requirement-wise is a minimum one interface dedicated to the replication between hosts. So you literally have an Ethernet cable connecting them. Our own development environment runs at 100 megabits per second, but in all of our live deployments, they're all gigabit, sometimes bonded 2 gigabits.
Bonded 2 gigs. But then if you're doing multiple, so is it directly from one server to the other, or can you go through a switch so that
it's not recommended to go to the switch? That's another point of failure. So we have some images on our website, but the architecture is you have 2 servers, you have one cable directly connecting them. That's data replication. Dedicated just for that. And also the way we expose the storage, back and forth between the two hosts. It's all exposed on that interface. Then you have your normal VM interfaces, management interfaces, everything you normally have in a cluster.
That's pretty cool. So you're saying this is open source then?
Yes, completely free, well supported, extremely well documented.
I guess my question has to be, why in the hell? I mean, because at least it's been a while since I've looked at high availability for virtualization. But last time I looked, the cheapest cost was $3,000. So, I mean, as long as the product works. I mean, I haven't tested it. I don't know. But as long as the product works, why aren't you selling it for $500, $1,000? I mean, this is what I deal with startup companies all the time, and it seems like you literally have a fucking enterprise startup company and you're giving it away.
We are. It's kind of a double-edged sword. So giving it away on the financial side may seem like we're giving away a lot, but it's also helped us improve the product, particularly with the early adopters. We just spent several months working with Northern Arizona University, where they've put some resources in place to help make the product better. So it's been a good exercise the past couple of years. But we do offer professional services. There are some people where maybe this is above their level of understanding. Maybe they shouldn't be doing this sort of thing. So we're available for support. We have support contracts. We can build systems and deploy ready-built systems. We can do all sorts of things services-wise. But from day one, we gave away the product, and it never was as big as it is today. It started off as a very small project, and kind of grew into a lot more than we initially intended, really to solve our own problem. How do we deploy a handful of VMs, and these days a handful could be 30 or 40 virtual machines, right? Because one server, what as dense as CPUs and memory are today, you could easily run dozens and dozens of virtual machines on one physical host. So making that highly available now can be very inexpensive.
That's interesting. So how long did it take you to build this product then?
It took me probably 6 months to write the first release of it. And it's been now 3 years plus of maintenance and growing it and feature addition, etc.
Really. That's kind of interesting. So what gave you that ability? Because when you're talking about Pulse Supply, that sounds more of like a standard IT company. And like most people don't understand the technology world, IT is normally off-the-shelf products that you turn into something. And then computer science or programming is where you come up with an idea and actually build it from scratch. So what gave you, coming from more the IT world, what gave you the ability? I mean, high availability seems like that should be a pretty complicated, software to create.
It is, but I wouldn't classify myself as a full-time software person. But if you have a problem and you've got to find a solution, well, it's kind of guide you, and all the steps sort of take care of themselves, right? So we built the product based on, okay, this is what we're trying to solve. And this is how to do it. And I had, at that time, a very deep understanding of the Zen hypervisor. I've been using it for a long time, even without the Zen server piece, the Zen hypervisor being just a very raw hypervisor. So building automation around it and doing little things has always been part of my skill set. This is just taking it to the next level, totally different paradigm, and creating a product out of it.
That's kind of cool. So where do you see HA Lizard going into the future? Do you plan to build a company off of it, or is it always going to be like just a side open source project?
Well, for now, it's just an open source project. It's continuing to grow. We're getting lots of installs every day. So it's an active community. I'm not sure we're going to go commercial with it, at least now. But certainly the services side of it is starting to build up, and that's where I think our focus is for the time being.
Okay, that's kind of cool. So then, so you've got that, and you're building it up. So you started about 3 years ago. No, it's like, wow. I wish I had heard about that 3 years ago. That sounds like a great little product. If people want it, so with a lot of the open source stuff, there's weird stuff with licensing where it's free, except you're required to buy X, Y, or Z to use it for free. Can they just download it and use it? Like because you talk about service contracts, are there any required maintenance contracts or anything like that?
Nope, you literally just download it and use it, and you have all the source code at your disposal.
Really? That's kind of cool. I'm like, wow. Yeah, no, because I had taken a look at it online. It was like, okay, it looks kind of cool. But now that you actually explain it, it's like, wow, that's actually pretty damn impressive. Okay. So what kind of clients then do you have using it at this point? Like who seems to be, is it small IT consulting shops? Is it larger universities? Who seems to actually be interested?
It's a bit of everything. From the clients that we know of, there are Fortune 100s in there, all the way down to literally very small IT shops deploying things for small businesses in their communities, universities, a little bit of everything.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Then how do you advertise? Because that's one question I get from my viewers a lot, is if you have an open source project, one of the problems is since there's not a profit motivation a lot of times, the question is how do you advertise it so anybody knows that it exists? How did you start advertising it so people actually knew that it existed?
We don't do much in direct advertising. We do mail to our user base once in a while, announcing new releases, etc. But it grew organically, just through word of mouth, just being out there. And if you Google around, you'll probably find lots of people looking for, the magic solution for a 2-node cluster with no SAN. And there aren't a whole lot, and many of them are very expensive.
Yeah, that's kind of pretty
right. Cool. So with Zen Server being open source and our product being open source, it is literally no cost.
That's pretty cool. Did you put it up on GitHub? I know everybody likes GitHub nowadays.
No, because I've been the primary developer doing all of it, so it's not sitting on GitHub. That might become something that we do down the road if more people start contributing.
Yeah. Oh, wow. If somebody wanted to contribute or they were interested in it, do they just contact you through the HA Lizard page, or how would they go
Yep.
about doing that? Yep.
Well, you can go to the forum, just start a discussion there, or just email us at ha@pulsesupply.com.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So you're working on any other projects then? That sounds great. Like what else are you up to?
We are working on a number of projects. One is still in development, which is more switching and billing for telecom companies. Nothing open source. So we have a lot of projects underway that some of them have not been announced yet.
No, okay.
Yeah.
So to get an idea of what's going on here. So then you're president of Pulse Supply.
Mhm.
And so what does president mean versus CEO? Like there's all these titles being bandied about nowadays. So when you're president, what does that actually mean your position is?
More of the leader, guiding, not so much handling CEO functionality, which I do also, by the way, because we're a small company.
Okay.
So I'm wearing multiple hats.
Okay. So are you actually
but,
technically CEO and president, and you just picked president, or is there somebody else that's a CEO?
I am CEO and president.
Okay, that's curious. Then why did you pick president as a name? I thought everybody liked the CEO title. Is there a value to that?
Well, it could be both. It could be one. No, there's no real value.
No value. Okay, I'm just kidding. Well, no, because what I always think about is I worked for a larger tech company a while ago, and they had something like 50 vice presidents. And so when I got hired, I was like, I don't understand, why do you have so many vice presidents? And they said, well, they all used to be directors, but no major company wants to deal with a director. They only want to deal with vice presidents. So we just turned them into vice presidents. So I'm always curious with titles, like why you choose the title that you choose.
Right. So we have vice presidents running divisions or portions of the company as well.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's cool. So how long is so did you create Pulse Supply? Is this your baby?
Mine and my colleague Michael, who can't join us today due to the weather. We started Pulse Supply about 20 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, what got you into, so 20 years ago in 97, so what got you into it back then?
Right. Well, we're working for a company in a similar industry, and we saw a need for doing some of these things that they were doing better, having more of an offering of unique product sets, and we always had a knack for solving problems in a unique way. So we may not be the best place to go out and buy a hard drive. It's really not what we do. But if you have a problem and come to us, we will craft a solution, whether it's just pure hardware or some software and custom development involved. We solve problems.
Oh, that's cool. Did you bootstrap this way back then, or did you try to get an investment and grow it that way?
We bootstrapped it.
We bootstrap it and just been trucking along. So you're up to 20 employees now and trucking along pretty good. So where are you at in the world then?
What do you mean?
Where are you? Like, are you in California?
Yep. We are in New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, Florida, Minnesota, Southern California, Colorado, Washington State.
Oh, okay. What makes you choose individual states? Like everybody seems to try to go global now. Like we do the entire United States. Why is the selection of individual states target?
Well, in sales, especially the types of sales we're involved in, you find that having a local resource makes all the difference. For example, trying to solve a complex problem for a utility in California is hard to do while you're sitting in Maryland.
Okay.
So we find it important to have local resources, and our resources are not the typical salesperson you'd find at most companies that are in the distribution business. They're all fairly technical. Yeah. They can stand on their own and solve problems literally while meeting with a customer.
Well, that works. And then, so you're actually located in Maryland, right? The headquarters.
Yes.
Was there any decision on that? Again, you think about tech companies, you think about Austin or Silicon Valley or whatever else. Was there a reason for picking where you're at?
Well, I lived here.
You lived here. Have you ever thought about moving? I mean, like the tax environment. There's some other issues with our neck of the world. Have you ever thought about moving the corporation somewhere else?
No, we haven't.
Not at all. Really? Okay. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Okay. Well, we're going along pretty well. So, I don't know. Are there any future plans for Pulse Supply? Is there anything that my folks should know other than HA Lizard, which honestly sounds pretty cool?
Yeah. Well, Pulse is just it's a very organic. We're always out there looking for new technologies, unique ways of solving problems. So, any vendors out there listening, it might be good to get a hold of us if there's something truly unique that they have to offer.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so we're good at, again, finding those niche products that solve problems. We've been doing it for a long time.
That's cool. Are you hiring at all? I know that's what my viewers always want me to ask.
Uh, Depends on what position. I guess your viewers are mostly technical people, so the answer is
Yeah.
not right now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And then yeah, I guess that's yeah, I guess that's about all we have to say. So I guess my last thing is since you have this company, you got 20 employees, and you're obviously doing multiple areas of technology. For my viewers, when they're trying to get in the technology field, or if they're young right now, what would your thoughts be on where they should focus in order to actually be able to pay the mortgage? So you see a lot of stuff with IoT or VR, which
Hmm.
may be worth billions of dollars to Cisco. I'm lost
Right.
as how the average technician, makes a salary off of it.
Right.
If you had an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old and they were trying to get in the tech field right now, what would you tell them to focus on?
Hmm. Uh, Definitely software.
Okay.
Hardware in general is, I wouldn't say declining, it's shifting. If you look at hardware of the old, you had many purpose-built devices. These days, those purpose-built devices have become servers. And what's driving those servers and turning them into a product is software,
Yeah.
right? So there's certainly a need for software. If you're looking at just the pure technical side of it, in sales, they're again selling high-tech products, focusing more on the leading edge of software, and that's sort of where it's going. For some of the young people, if you're truly young, they could afford to gamble a bit and maybe go with a startup and roll the dice and see if it becomes, the next Apple or whatever.
Uh,
Right? There's no need to be conservative at a young age, especially just out of college,
all right.
and work hard. Learn as much as you can because that's really what you have.
With where you are in the world, do you think college is valuable? Because again, that's a question. Do you get certifications? Do you do college? Do you just go out there and work? Where would you put the money as the best advice?
There's a value in it. I wouldn't say it's necessary. I have many colleagues that have no college education that are absolutely brilliant and can do things that most college-educated people cannot do, right? So if you've got a knack for thinking in a unique way, solving complex problems, college or no college, I think you'll be fine. But what college does is exposes you to a lot of technology that you wouldn't otherwise be exposed to. For example, being an engineer, I can look at a product and figure out very quickly what it's doing because I understand all the pieces it's built upon. You have some CPU, some input output, some memory, whatever. And you learn very quickly how things work and how they operate. So solving problems becomes easier. You have a different way of looking at things from sort of a higher level, as opposed to a surfacey level that you wouldn't quite, you would have if you didn't have that college.
Yeah.
Right? So it gives you depth that you wouldn't otherwise have.
Okay. That works. That works. Okay. So, well, thank you for talking with me today. So, if they're interested in this, it's ha-lizard.com.
Correct, or without the hyphen, I believe works also.
Okay.
And HA Lizard, we are available at ha@pulsesupply.com. And we're open to any feedback.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you for being with us today, and I'll make sure to point all my folks in your direction. And it was good talking with you.
Same here, likewise. Thanks for having me.
Okay. See you later.
Bye-bye.